I'm Kyle Bachus. On April 28th of 2020, my mom was killed as a result of someone else's negligence. It's completely changed my life and the way I practice law. If you too have felt the pain of losing a loved one and you don't know where to turn, let me be your guide on what to do next when the unthinkable happens. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the difference between a criminal case and a civil case. Let's talk about who brings the case. In a criminal case, it's the government bringing a case against an individual for breaking society's laws or rules. In a civil case, it's a family or a person who's been injured bringing a case against the individual who caused them harm to recover the damages that were caused by the conduct of the actor, right? The person being sued. Now, let's talk about something called the burden of proof, what it takes to win and what the difference is. So in a criminal case, because theoretically speaking, the criminal case might deprive a person who broke society's laws, might deprive them of their liberty, might put them in jail for some period of time, or might deprive them of their property rights as an individual in the United States of America. The burden of proof in a criminal case for the government to take somebody's liberty or to take their property is beyond a reasonable doubt. In a civil case, because it's an individual, not the government, it's an individual against an individual or against a company. And because what's at stake is not a person's liberty or the government taking property, but instead is a transaction of money, right? A civil case is about money damages. The standard is lower. It's called the preponderance of the evidence. How about that for a legal term? What does it really mean? It means more likely true than not true. To succeed in a civil case, the civil standard is you have to demonstrate that it's more likely true than not true that they caused the injury, and that it's more likely true than not true that each of the damages that you sustained were sustained as a result of the conduct of that person. So instead of beyond a reasonable doubt in the criminal case, it's more likely true than not true, or the preponderance of the evidence in the civil case. Let's talk about timing of the case. In a criminal case, when the government is bringing a case against an individual to seek to deprive them of their liberty or their property, you have what's called a right to speedy trial. So the government, once they bring charges, they have to bring you to trial within approximately 180 days unless you waive that right. Okay, that's a criminal case. In the civil case, there is no constitutional right to a speedy trial. In some cases, there's not even a right to a jury trial constitutionally. So a civil case can take years, whereby a criminal case, unless the person who is being charged with the crime waives their speedy trial rule, they are generally going to be at trial within 180 days. Now, there are some statutes that protect the elderly or the infirm that say if you are over the age of, say, 75 and you're going to bring a suit against somebody, that you get a trial within 6 months. Okay, but that's by a local or state rule. It's not a constitutionally protected right. Most cases settle. Most cases will settle even through informal discussions with insurance companies or the person who's at fault, and you may or may not have to proceed all the way to trial. But I just want to give you a flavor of the difference between the two systems. One is the government bringing a case to penalize somebody for breaking the law, and the other is the family itself bringing a case, controlling the case, deciding when to settle, whether to settle, what to settle for. The criminal case, the government decides what charges to bring. The government decides when they're going to bring the charges. Then speedy trial attaches to it, and the standard of proof is higher, but the government's bringing charges based upon breaking society's laws, whereas the family in a civil case is bringing a case based upon negligence, failing to act reasonably under the circumstances, a lower burden of proof, a longer track to trial, but the family's in complete control. I hope that helps you understand the difference between the criminal justice system and the civil justice system.